र समस्या समाधान विधि प्रब्लम सल्भिङ मेथड। समस्या समाधान विधि शिक्षण अध्ययन प्रक्रिया प्रयोग गर्ने एक अत्यन्त प्रभावकारी र विद्यार्थी केन्द्रित विधि हो। यस विधिमा विद्यार्थीलाई वास्तविक जीवनका समस्या सिप आधारित कार्यबाट बौद्धिक चुनौतीहरू सामना गराएर समाधान निकाल्न प्रेरित गरिन्छ। यसले विद्यार्थीमा विश्लेषणात्मक सोच र आलोचनात्मक क्षमता, तार्किक तर्क र सृजनात्मकता विकास गर्न मद्दत गर्छ। यसको आधारभूत मान्यता भनेको शिक्षा समस्या समाधान प्रक्रिया नै सिकाइ हुन्छ भन्ने हो। समस्या समाधान विधि जोन डिबेको प्रगतिवादी शिक्षासँग सम्बन्धित छ र डिबेका अनुसार विद्यार्थीले सक्रिय अनुभव, अनुसन्धान र परीक्षण प्रक्रियाबाट सिक्छन्। समस्या समाधान विधिका केही चरणहरू। समस्या समाधान विधि सामान्यतया निम्न 5 महत्त्वपूर्ण चरणहरूमा आधारित हुन्छ। समस्या पहिचान, आइडेन्टिफिकेसन अफ प्रब्लम। विद्यार्थी वा शिक्षकले सिकाइसँग सम्बन्धित कुनै यथार्थ समस्या छान्छन् र समस्या विद्यार्थीको अनुभव, वातावरण वा पाठ्यवस्तुसँग सम्बन्धित हुन्छ। समस्या विश्लेषण, अन्डरस्ट्यान्डिङ एन्ड डिफाइनिङ द प्रब्लम। समस्यालाई स्पष्ट रूपमा बुझ्ने, यसको प्रकृति के हो, किन उत्पन्न भयो र यसका सम्भावित प्रभावहरू के हुन सक्छ भन्ने बारे चर्चा गरिन्छ। सम्भावित समाधानको कल्पना, फर्मुलेसन अफ हाइपोथेसिस अल्टरनेटिभ सल्युसन्स। विद्यार्थीहरू समूहमा बसेर समस्या समाधानका विभिन्न विकल्पहरू सोध्छन्। यो चरण सृजनात्मक र तार्किक सोच विकास गर्ने महत्त्वपूर्ण चरण हो। समाधान परीक्षण, टेस्टिङ द बेस्ट सल्युसन्स। प्राप्त समाधानहरूलाई उपलब्ध साधन, तथ्य, आँकडा तथा तर्कका आधारमा, डेटा एन्ड लजिक फ्याक्ट्सको आधारमा इभ्यालुएसन गरिन्छ, परीक्षण गरिन्छ र विभिन्न समाधानहरूको तुलनात्मक अध्ययन गरी सबैभन्दा उपयुक्त समाधान छनौट गरिन्छ। समाधान कार्यान्वयन र मूल्याङ्कन, कन्क्लुजन एन्ड इभ्यालुएसन। छनौट गरिएको समाधान प्रयोग गरिन्छ र यसको परिणाम मूल्याङ्कन गरिन्छ। आवश्यकता परे वैकल्पिक निर्णय पनि प्रयोग गरिन्छ। समस्या समाधान विधिका फाइदाहरू। विद्यार्थीका आलोचनात्मक तथा विश्लेषणात्मक सोच विकास हुन्छ। वास्तविक जीवनका सिपहरूलाई सिक्न मद्दत गर्छ। विद्यार्थी सक्रिय, स्वतन्त्र तथा जिम्मेवार बन्छन्। सहकार्य, समूह कार्य र अनुसन्धान क्षमता वृद्धि हुन्छ। ज्ञान दीर्घकालीन रूपमा टिकाउ हुन्छ। समस्या समाधान विधिका सीमितताहरू। समय धेरै लाग्ने विधि हो। सबै विषयमा वा सबै स्तरकामा लागू गर्न कठिन हुन सक्छ। सक्षम र प्रशिक्षित शिक्षक आवश्यक पर्छ। सबै विद्यार्थी समान रूपमा सक्रिय नहुन सक्छन्। आवश्यक सामग्री, स्रोत र वातावरण नभए प्रयोग कठिन हुन्छ। समस्या समाधान विधि आधुनिक विद्यार्थी केन्द्रित तथा जीवनोपयोगी शिक्षण विधि हो। यसले विद्यार्थीलाई वास्तविक परिस्थितिमा निर्णय गर्ने, समस्या समाधान गर्ने र सृजनात्मक सोच विकास गर्ने अवसर दिन्छ। शिक्षकले उचित समस्या चयन, मार्गदर्शन र सहयोग प्रदान गरेमा यो विधि सिकाइमा अत्यन्त प्रभावकारी बन्न सक्छ। Problem solving method is a modern learner-centered teaching approach that promotes active participation, analytical thinking, and real-life application of knowledge. In this method, students are encouraged to explore, investigate, and find solutions to meaningful problems. A central belief of this method is that learning occurs best through the process of solving problems. Philosophical background. The method is closely associated with John Dewey, a prominent progressive education philosopher. According to Dewey, True learning happens through inquiry, experimentation, and reflective thinking. Steps of the problem solving method: identification of the problem. A relevant and meaningful problem is selected. It may come from students' daily life, environment, or the lesson content. Understanding and defining the problem. Students try to understand the problem clearly, its cause, nature, and possible consequence. As well, defined problem is essential for successful learning. Formulation of possible solution hypothesis. Students brainstorm possible solutions. They think creativity and logically, generating multiple alternatives, testing the solutions. All proposed solutions are analyzed, compared, and tested using the facts, data, logic, and available resource. The most appropriate solution is selected after the careful evaluation. Applying the solution and evaluation. The chosen solution is implemented. Students examine the results and reflect on the effect on their decision. If needed, alternative solution may also be tested. Advantage of problem-solving method: develops critical analytical thinking, promotes creativity and scientific reasoning, encourage active participation and independent learning, enhance cooperation, communication, and teamwork skills. Knowledge becomes long-lasting and meaningful. Limitations of problem-solving methods: time-consuming compared to traditional teaching, requires well-trained teachers and adequate resource, not suitable for all subjects or large classes. Some students may hesitate to participate actively. Proper problem selection is crucial and sometimes challenging. The problem-solving method is an effective, innovative, and student-oriented teaching strategy. It prepares learners for real-life challenges by strengthening their decision-making and problem-solving skills. With appropriate guidance and planning, these methods can significantly enhance the quality of learning in the classroom. A problem is a task which problem solving may be a purely mental difficulty. It may be physical and involve manipulation of data. The person confronting it wants to or needs to find a solution because the person has no readily available procedures for finding the solutions. The persons must make an attempt to find a solution. Problem solving is the fact of defining a problem, determining the cause of the problems, identifying, prioritizing, and selecting alternatives of solution and implementing the solution. The problem solving methods children learn by working on problems. This enables the students to learn new knowledge by facing the problems to be solved. The students are expected to observe, understand, analyze, interpret, find solution, and perform application that leads to a holistic understanding of the concept. This method develops scientific process skills. This method helps in developing brainstorming approach to learning concepts. Problem solving involves three basic functions: seeking the information, generating new knowledge, making decisions. Objectives of problem solving: willingness to try problems and improve their perseverance. When solving problems, improve people's self-concept with respect to their abilities to solve problems, make pupils aware of the problem-solving strategies, make pupils aware of the value of approaching the problems in a systematic manner, make pupils aware that problems can be solved in more than one way, improve people's ability to select appropriate solution strategies, improve people's ability to implement solution strategies accurately, improve people's ability to get more correct answers to problems, The appreciation of existence of problems and a desire to solve it. The accumulation of these facts and the data which are pertinent to the problem, logical interpretation after supported by adequate valid experience. Steps of the problem solving method. 5 model that most students can easily memorize and put it to action and which has direct application to many areas of the curriculum as well as the everyday life. Understand the problems. It's important that students understand the nature of the problem and its related goals. Encourage students to frame a problem in their own words. Describe any barriers students need to avoid of any barriers or constraints that may be preventing them from achieving their goals. In short, what is the creating the problem? Encouraging the students to verbalize these impediments is always an important step. Identify various solutions. After nature and parameters of problems are understood, students will need to select one or more appropriate strategies to help resolve the problem. Students need to understand that they have many strategies available to them and that no single strategy will work for all problems, have all has some problem solving possibilities. Creative visual image. Many problem solvers find it useful to create mind pictures of the problem and its potential solution prior to working on the problem. Mental imaging allows the problem solvers to map out many dimensions of a problem and see it clearly. Guesstimate gives students appropriate to engage in some trial and error approach to problem solving. It should be understood, however, that this is not a single approach to problem solving, but rather the attempt to gather some preliminary data. Create a table. A table is orderly arranged of data. When the students have the opportunities to design and create tables of information, they begin to understand that they can group, organize, or most data relative to problem. Use manipulatives by moving objects around on table or desk. Students can develop pattern and organize elements of problems into recognizable and visually satisfying components. Work background. It's frequently helpful for students to take data presented at the end of the problem and use a series of computations to arrive at the data presented at the beginning of the problem. Looking for patterns in important problem solving strategy because many problems are similar and fall into predictable patterns. A pattern by definition is a regular systematic repetition and maybe numerical, visual, or behavioral. Create a systematic list recording information in list from is a process used quite frequently to map out a plan of attack for defining and solving problems. Encourage students to record their ideas and list to determine the regularities, pattern, or similarities between the problem elements. Try out the solution when the working through a strategy or a combination of strategies will be important for the students. Keep accurate and up-to-date records of their thoughts, proceedings, and procedure. Recording the data collected, the predictions made of, and the strategies used in the important part of the problem-solving process. Try to work through a selected strategy or combination of strategies until it becomes evident that it's not working. It needs to be modified or it is building the inappropriate data. As students become more proficient problem solvers, they should feel comfortable rejecting potential strategies at any time during their quest for solution. Monitor with great care the steps undertaken as a part of the solution. Although it might be a natural tendency for students to rush through the strategy to arrive in quick answer, encourage them to carefully assess and monitor their progress. Feel comfortable putting problems aside for a period of time and tackling it later time. For example, scientists rarely come up with a solution the first time they approach a problem. Students should also feel comfortable letting a problem rest of the while and returning later. Fifth one is evaluate the results. It's vitally important that students have multiple opportunities to assess their own problem solving skills and solutions they generate from using those skills. Frequently, students are overly dependent upon teachers to evaluate their performance in the classroom. The process of self-assessment is not easy. However, it involves risk-taking, self-assurance, and a certain level of independence, but it can be effectively promoted by asking students questions such as how do you feel about your progress so far? Are you satisfied with results you obtain, and why do you believe this is an appropriate response to the problem? Teachers' role in problem solving. Teachers has a very important role in teaching learning process. He or she has the duty to provide proper guidelines to the students in the completion of their work. Some important rules are given. Give suggestion, not answer. Offer a problem solving heuristic. Teach a variety of problem solving strategies. Allow time for the students to struggle with the problem. Choose problems that require time to think through a solution. Provide a variety of problems. Allow students time to practice a heuristic and strategies. Give similar or the same problems in different ways. Ask questions that encourage students to think divergently, explain how they are thinking, to share strategies. Think of other ways that the same problems could be asked. Think of real life problems that are or relate to the problem. Discover different problems that can be solved with the same strategy. Discover multiple ways to solve the problem. Reflect or check their solution. Reflect and discuss how they imagine a certain strategy might be possible. Explain why they have the confidence in their solutions. Provide encouragement and appreciation. Appreciate different solutions and strategies. Encourage students to find multiple solutions to a problem. Encourage students to take time to solve problems. Compliment student on good problem solving strategies whether there is a solution or not. Make sure student how what a compliment or prize especially relates to about the problems and problem solving. Encourage student to keep trying and to learn by correcting the mistakes. Let students know that problem solving is difficult and rewarding. Share and discuss attitudes and dispositions that are conducive to problem solving. Advantage of problem solving method, development of long-term knowledge retention. Students who participate in the problem-based learning activities can improve their abilities to retain and recall information. This is because while the learning about something's open discussion between the peer reinforce understanding of subject matter, use of diverse instruction types, grouping the students together for PBL allows them to tackle tangible problems and enjoy team-based learning. You can also provide content sources, videos, news articles, and more. Continuous engagement. It's not hard to see the potential for engagement as students collaborate to solve real-world problems that directly affect or ability in STEM. Development of transferable skills using PBL to represent tangible context and consequence can allow the learning to become more profound and durable, helping students apply skills they develop to other real-world scenarios. Improvement of teamwork and interpersonal skills, completing of PBL challenge hinges on the interaction and communication, meaning students should also build skills related to teamwork and collaboration. Also, some disadvantage of problem solving methods, potentially poorer performance on tests because standardized tests typically reward facts-based learning with multiple choice and short answer questions. PBL activities may not effectively prepare students on preparedness. Many students may not be prepared to participate in a PBL exercise due to immaturity, unfamiliarity with broad questions, and lack of the prerequisite knowledge. Teacher on preparedness, you may have to adjust some habits such as overtly correcting students and teaching to promote the fast recall on facts, instead give hints and tasks questions to encourage independent thought, time-consuming assessment if you choose to make assessing a student's performance throughout a problem-based learning exercise demands constant monitoring and note taking, varying the degrees of relevancy and applicability. It can be easy for students to divert from the challenge objectives, possibly missing pertinent information, running into unanticipated obstacles when solving the problem in another possibility. Thus, the problem-solving method is based on the principles of active learning. The students gets totally involved in the activity which helps in enhancing his or knowledge, understanding and skills in real life situation, and ultimately in developing a holistic personality. Since all the activities are related to real life experience, each of such activities is meaningful for the students. Therefore, meaningful learning is always associated with this method. समस्या समाधान विधि problem solving method. Identify the problem first. Second, identify plan. Third, what might happen if. Fourth, work the strategy. Fifth, measure evaluation. Problem solving in the act as a define a problem, determining the cause of the problem, identifying, prioritizing, and selecting the alternative for a solution and implementing a solution. The students are expected to observe, understand, analyze, interpret, find solution, and perform applications that lead to a holistic understanding of the concept. This method develops scientific process skills. This method helps in developing brainstorming, approach to learning concepts. This method develops scientific process skills. This method helps in developing brainstorming approach to learning concepts. Problem solving involves three basic functions: seeking information, generating new knowledge, making decisions. Objectives of problem solving: willingness to try to solve problems, improve people's self-concept with respect to the abilities to solve the problems, make people aware of the problem-solving strategies, make people aware of the people value of the approaching problems in a systematic manner, make people aware that many problems can be solved in a more than one way, make people aware that many problems can be solved in more than one way. Improve people's ability to select appropriate solution strategies. Improve people's abilities to implement solution strategies accurately. Improve people's ability to get more correct answers to problems. The appreciation of the existence of problems and a desire to solve it. The accumulation of the facts in data which are pertinent to the problem. Logical interpretation of the data supported by adequate valid experience. Steps of problem solving method: understand the problem, describe any barriers, identify various solutions. Preparation, production, judgment: create visual image, guesstimate, look for a pattern, try out solution, evaluate the results. Teachers' rules in the problem solving: give suggestions, not answer, offer the problem solving heuristic, teach a variety of problem solving strategies, allow time for the students to struggle with the problem, choose problems that require time to think through a solution, allow students time to practice a heuristic and strategies, give similar or the same problems in the different ways, ask questions that encourage the students think divergently to share strategies, think of the other ways, think of real life problems, discover different problems, discover multiple ways to solve, reflect or check their solutions. Merits and demerits: development of long-term knowledge retention, use of diverse instruction types, continuous engagement, development of transferable skills, improvement of teamwork and interpersonal skills. But in case of demerits, potentially poor performance on tests, student unpreparedness, teachers unpreparedness, time-consuming assessment, varying degrees of relevancy and applicability. समस्या समाधान विधि कुन उद्देश्य हो? ख. समस्या समाधान समस्या विकास गर्ने. समस्या समाधान विधि कुन शिक्षासँग सम्बन्धित छ? प्रगतिवाद. समस्या समाधान विधिका प्रतिपादक को हुन्? जोन डिबी. समस्या समाधान विधिको पहिलो चरण के हो? ग. समस्याको पहिचान. समस्या समाधान विधिको अन्तिम चरण के हो? ख. मूल्याङ्कन. समस्या समाधान विधि कुन प्रकारको विधि हो? ख. विद्यार्थी केन्द्रित. समस्या समाधान विधि कुन प्रकारको सोच आवश्यक पर्छ? तार्किक सोच. टेस्टिङ द सल्युसन कुन चरण हो? चौथो, समस्या समाधान विधि प्रयोग गर्दा विद्यार्थीले कसरी सिक्छ? सक्रिय रूपमा. समस्या समाधान विधिको मुख्य कमजोरी के हो? समय धेरै लाग्छ. समाधानको प्रभावकारिता जाँच्ने कार्यलाई के भनिन्छ? परीक्षण. समस्या समाधान विधि कुन अधिक गमन सिद्धान्तसँग नजिक छ? निर्माणवाद, कन्स्ट्रक्टिभिजम. डिफाइनिङ प्रब्लम कुन चरणमा पर्छ? दोस्रो. समस्या विकल्पहरू सोच्ने चरण तेस्रो हो. समस्याको स्रोत विद्यार्थीको अनुभव हो. समस्या समाधान विधि अनुभवमा आधारित हुन्छ। इभ्यालुएसन अन्तिम चरण हो। शिक्षकको भूमिका मार्गदर्शक गाइडलाइन दिने हो। हाइपोथेसिस अनुमान हो। लर्नर एक्टिभिटी उच्च हुन्छ। ज्ञान दीर्घकालीन हुन्छ। समूह कार्य प्रोत्साहित हुन्छ। समस्या उपयुक्त नहुँदा विधि असफल हुन्छ। विद्यार्थी एक्सप्लोर अन्वेषक हुन्। सोच्न सक्ने शक्ति उन्नत हुनुपर्छ। वास्तविक जीवन समस्याको आधार हो। प्रयोग गर्न कठिन हुन्छ ठुला कक्षाहरूमा। निष्कर्ष उचित समाधान चयन हो। आलोचनात्मक सोच मुख्य फाइदा छ। मोटिभेसन उच्च आवश्यक छ। शिक्षकको बोल्ने समय कम हुन्छ। विद्यार्थीको सहभागिता अत्याधिक हुन्छ। समस्या उत्पत्ति सामाजिक शैक्षिक स्किल इन्भल्भ अनुसन्धान प्रणालीगत स्रोत विकास वैज्ञानिक विधिसँग समानता लर्नर अटोनोमी उच्च। Problem solving methods is based on which philosophy? Progressivism, प्रगतिवाद. Who is considered that pioneer of the problem solving method? John Dewey. The first step of problem solving method is identification of problem. Hypothesis means assumption or guess. The method is mainly student-centered. The main objectives of problem solving method: critical thinking. Final step of the method: testing. Testing the hypothesis occurs in which step? What? Problem solving promotes logical reasoning. A good problem must be realistic and meaningful. Learner's role active, teacher's role guide, facilitator knowledge permanent, skills resource, encourage creativity, limitation time consuming, testing solution empirical, collaboration promoted, method type constructivist, similar to scientific method. Life skill enhance, better in the small groups, problem definition necessary, alternative solutions required, source of problem environment, increases motivation, requires resource, suitable for higher order learning, promotes analysis, hypothesis testing, logical. Steps: systematic, outcome, effective solution, student talk time high, teacher's talk time low, use in the classroom effectives, problem selection critical, leads to deep understanding, encourage decision making, fosters teamwork. Involves data collection, improves problem solving ability based on inquiry, provides real life experience, requires active participation, learners become independent, hypothesis must be testable, method fails if problem unclear, emphasize thinking process, evaluation checks effectiveness, overall focus, solving practical problems.